Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do a totally different kind of video on the channel today. We are going to talk about our Thor camper that we bought, and we're going to try to touch base on things that I wish there was a video on when I was researching this. I spent like a year looking for one of these, and I really couldn't find videos talking about what I wanted, and it's more the mechanical end of things. So we bought it used, we bought it secondhand. It was a one-owner unit. It had 6,000 miles on when we got it. It was really well cared for. When we showed up to the house, they had a beautiful barn it was kept in. The guy pulled it out for us, gave us all the details on it. They had like spare paint. They gave us everything because they were done camping. They were getting older. So let's do a quick walk around. We changed the bumper on this thing right away, you'll notice. Actually, this is the stock bumper that was behind the skirt. And I don't know if I have videos or pictures of this thing before, but it had this skirt on it that came down. But I talked about us going to dirt bike races, and we wanted the tow hooks. It was really cheap. I went to eBay, and I think people pull like these off because they aftermarket their bumpers all the time. I think it was like 60 bucks. I bought another set, and it took Steph and I like maybe an hour just pulling bolts and nuts because you got to pull a lot apart. It's more than you think. So we got those back on, and I'm going to buy like the stock forged fascia or skirting down there to make it look better. But if you're looking at pictures and wondering why ours looks different, because I wanted tow hooks. Nice wide mirrors are critical. Does have a really cool backup camera, which again, we're gonna talk about that later. So this is just a cabinet, and we just keep our muddy boots in there. So super basic, nice and big. It's easy right by the door to get to that. I will show you while we're right here. This is your cameras. So when you flick your right turn signal on, this camera will illuminate on like your center mirror in the back. And there's one on the other side as well. So door to get up in, this little step drops out. This is something that I really don't care about, is the TV on the outside. I'm all about like practicality, getting places and doing things. None of this really fits who we are, but it does, I think it comes out, yeah. So we've never turned it on. We've had it for 6 months, so that's cool. This is propane, which we've used a little bit of, and we'll talk more about why we haven't used more of that here in a little bit. Outlets, which we use all the time. If we're at a race, we can plug a box fan in here, and it'll give guys some cold air real quick. This one is, what is it? Oh yeah, this is more storage. So outdoor grill is currently in there with propane. We like that one too. Those are kind of the only two storage bins. That one and the front one that we use. This would be, this I would get rid of in a heartbeat. If like there was a model that didn't have this, I don't want any of this. I don't need the refrigerator. I don't want a sink. I would rather have storage right here. If I had room to put chairs or something, that's way more practical and lighter. I don't want like more low point drains to worry about. This is where you put the fresh water in. This has a 65-gallon tank on the inside. This is a propane hookup if you have a grill. So if you had a different style grill than ours, you could plug straight into it. Ladder to get up to the back. And then this side, this has a full wall slide. So this is the bunk bed model, which is, we needed all that extra room. And here is where we keep all of our cords. The guy actually gave us all of these. It's so sick. And there's actually more. He had all these different hookups and cord setups, many of which we took out because we're not going camping at a normal campground. This is a dual tank vehicle. So there's two tanks on this one. There's a front tank and a back tank. I think it's 65 gallons, and I love that. And we'll talk more about that in the drivability section, but can drive forever without filling. This is where you plug electric in if you were going to go to a campground. And we do plug in here at the house. So that way, like, Steph can keep the refrigerator on. Like if we're prepping for a race weekend, you can plug into it. And then I think this is internet. If you were at a campground, you can plug cable into it. This one is the not fun one, but this is your black tank, gray tank, outside shower. And then you can hook a hose here into this, and it'll like rinse out the inside of your black tank. So the 2-second rundown, because I wish there was more directions on this kind of stuff, is you remove this cap. It's like a 8-inch hole, and then you can like tilt this thing down, plug your hose in, and then pull your levers. We always do black first, then gray second. I'm sure there's way better videos on YouTube on emptying your tanks than me. So this is city water connection. So if you were at a campground and you weren't using your holding tank, that would just give you continual water. This one, oh, this is the one that we store like the tubes and stuff in. So for doing the black tank and gray tank draining. So he gave us all this. Like literally, this is all set up the way he had it. This one, so I do have videos on our YouTube channel. We'll talk about maintenance at the end. I did a video already on how to service this thing. DEF fluid goes in here, which I've had to fill 3 times now, because we've put 6,000 miles on this thing already. So it's pretty cool. Easy to fill, not super awkward because those DEF boxes usually come with like a really long nozzle. Easy to get in there. And then the guy gave us all this. It's sick. So when we get to the races, we can like, it's never flat. So when you put the feet down, which we're going to do next here in a minute, you just choose whatever chunk of wood you need depending on where you're at. So we usually try to level the tires first, get the camper flat, and then go from there. Back up real quick, I forgot. This is your hot water tank. And then I think this is the heater, which we have not used. So, but this is a full wall slide. So in a minute, we're gonna put that out. And then this is that camera. So if I were to flick on the left turn signal, that would come on. And that is a basic walk around. It is the 6.7 diesel. It's the Ford 550 chassis. Let's get into the next section. Okay, so this segment, I thought it'd be cool to do like a how to get ready for the weekend. Because the first time we brought this home, I definitely listened to what the guy was saying, but I did not know the truck had to be running with a parking brake on to get the leveling system to go down. So let's just do it real quick. We're gonna do two things, level it and then put the slide out in this little segment. So first thing we're gonna do is come in here. Step just came down, so we're gonna show you up in here. Before you come up, let's show this. So there is a button you can flick right here, and this would keep our foot down. That doesn't come in and out. And then I'm gonna turn the main power on because we need that in a minute. Oh gosh, inverter, solar panel setup, and then just like another switch here for everything. Okay, so here's our leveling panel, and the truck is idling. You might be able to hear it, maybe not. And if you just hit this button like normal, it does not work. And we tried so hard to make this work. But what we learned with ours is you got to start in the top corner and kind of roll your finger, and it comes on. It's incredible. I don't know why. And so what this is telling us is our right side is currently low, and that's what we need to level. Now, there's this button called auto leveling right here, and I've learned that I don't love that, and if you're already a camper guy, you might have totally agree, I already know all that. But if you hit the word auto, it's going to do it for you on its own, and the goal at the end is to have this word in the middle. It'll turn green when it's level. The problem with using auto is it'll make an adjustment, and then it'll like pause to like calibrate and think about it, and then it'll automatically just like ram and like flip the whole camper like violently, and I don't like that because the slide is so long. It'll like take the front and just twist it differently. So I've learned to do it manually on my own. So what I'm going to do is hit the manual button here, and the light underneath manual is now lit up, so it's us doing it. And I'm gonna drop the front jacks first and the back jacks. I know we only need to worry about the right, but we want, like, if we're in and out all weekend, we want it to not rock around. So I'm gonna hit front. You can hear them coming down outside. And once they hit the ground, okay, they just hit the ground. I could kind of feel it go up a little bit. And now I'm gonna put the back down. And that way, like, both front and both back are now gonna be down on the ground. Takes a second. So right there, you could hear the back come up a little bit. And so now I'm gonna do it myself and adjust right up. So I'm gonna just hit right. I'm gonna make little adjustments. So it still wants more on the right. I'm gonna hit like 1 second at a time. Check that out. How sick is that? So it's already level. So it's blinking green, which means it's good. And at this point, I just leave the panel alone and then it goes off on its own. So we are flat and ready to go for the weekend. Okay, so now that we're level, we're gonna take the slide and put it out. And one of the major talking points that we're about to get to and why you needed to watch this video is our slide isn't great. So what we're gonna do is they're called slide jacks, and I'll put the link in the video. But basically I have 4 of these that I gotta take out. So this is securing our slide from going out while we're driving down the road. So I've got 4. I've got an upper and a lower that's called slide lock. Like I said, I'll put the link in the video if you want these or need these. They're like $100 that for a set. Okay, so we've got less than $200 in these, and the peace of mind is huge. So I'm going to take all 4 of these out. I just grabbed the easiest one. I'm going to do the lower one, and I'm going to show you how hard it is to do the back ones here in a second. Okay, so here's the hard part of these. These are the back slide jacks. I've got an upper and a lower, and I'm really tall, so I'll jam the top one in here. And I've got, coming out is easier because you're not like trying to adjust it, but like trying to typically shove it in that spot and then like tighten it against the wall, it's pretty brutal. And then the lower one, you got to be a smaller, skinnier person to do this, and it's coming out. So That is your slide locks that we've learned that we need. So slide locks are out, we're level, so it's sturdy, and we can turn our screen on. We turned the power on earlier, so now our screen works. And I'm not going to go into detail on this panel because every machine's different, but if we go here, and now I can extend our slide out, and we can still do that because the truck is still running and the parking brake is on. That all still needs to be on. So this part is part of the upgrade that we did, and this is one of the most important parts about this video is the whole slide thing. So we're going to put it out, and we're going to go out and talk about it. So ready, set, go. Go ahead and pan that way. So I'm still holding the button in, and I'm going to let go now because we learned that you have to like hold it until the very end. Like you might think it's done. Like if the front is done, the back might not be, and in the video it might have been hard to tell, but the front finished, and the back needed like another second or two to finish going out. So it gives you so much more room because this is a full wall slide, but that's also part of the problem is that it's a full wall slide. So there's a lot of stress on this thing. So this is one of the things, man, I wish there was content on, and there really wasn't, was watching that whole process, how it unfolded. Now, we did upgrade the slide, so let's go outside and have a look at that. So this is such a big part of this video, is this Vroom slide upgrade. So when we were in the driveway with the seller, he moved it out for us, and he put the slide out, and he went to put the slide back in, and the slide would not go in, because it was still the original Schwintek is the brand. And I'm not a camper guy. If you know what campers, read about Schwintek. It's not a great positive feedback online. So my friend and I were actually on the outside. Ben was down there and I'm here, and the guy's inside, and like we're pushing on this thing to get it back in. And I was super excited because I had already planned on upgrading it, and it turned into a really good negotiating tool for me. So I was able to reduce the price of our purchase price. It was $8,000 to install the Schwintek. He didn't reduce it that much, but we got really close. So we paid $8,000 for Vroom to redo this, and it came with all new rollers on the bottom. I don't really talk about pricing typically because it changes, retail changes. When you call to get it, it might be a different price. And this is a really long slide, so it's all different. But it's important to tell you that we paid $8,000 because that's a ton of money to have this upgraded when you're spending $250K. Why should you have to spend another $8,000? So with even that being said, with Vroom supposedly being like the cure-all, it really wasn't. And I'm going to explain this because we were driving home from a race. I'm in the driver's seat, my wife's in the passenger seat. She's like, man, it sounds like there's a window open. And the only real windows that open when you're driving are hers and mine, the driver in the front. And I'm like, no, our windows are both up. And I looked in my mirror, and this slide was out like 8 inches. And I panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, because the kids are in the back, right? So this slide's coming out. And there was an exit right there, and like I just put on the turn signal, casually got off, and that's why we have those slide locks in there now, because I even emailed Vroom, and they're really slow to get back to me, to be honest. It's been 2 months probably. I emailed them right away. I was like, hey guys, on the way home we had to stop 4 times, because every time we would stop, I'd put it in, I would just gradually watch it come out like 3 inches, and once it got to 3 inches, I was done. I was like, we're pulling over, putting it back in. So as soon as we might have still been driving, and Steph was already buying slide locks on her phone. So those slide locks, since we did that was 3,000 miles ago. We've been to Tennessee and back with this thing. The slide locks have kept the slide from coming out 100%. But we shouldn't have had to do that because we were told that the motors were strong enough to hold us in. So this last 2 minutes of footage is like so critical if you're buying something this big. So I really feel like there's no content on that, to the extent that we just went over it. So if you're driving and you feel like you hear noise and you look back and your slide's coming out, that is not a good feeling. So this has the Vroom. I'm going to give you the 2-second mechanical into this. Is the top originally had 2 tracks. The Vroom slide goes to 1 and 1. They told me not to worry about putting any kind of oil or anything on it. You don't want to oil this because then dust will attract to it. And I dropped it off. It took them about a week to do it. They were super easy to work with. We told them exactly what we had. They had all the parts. They did it for us. So as a company, it was good. I'm just not satisfied that the motors aren't holding it in. So, and the last point on all this is it hasn't failed, but there's moments where we get, like when we go to put it back in and it just won't do it. It's like, Meh. And you're like, you kind of panic for a second and you put it back out and then you put it back in and then it comes in. So even though those motors are new, they're still not great. And I think it's probably because our slide is so long. It's 100% because of the model we bought. I think if you had a slide that was like half the size, it would probably go in much easier. So that's my long-winded story on the slide. So we're gonna go over some interior things on our camper, and the first one is in front here. It's huge, it's so sick. Braxton and Lex, they're both 16 and 15-year-old kids. They're super tall and long, and they both fit up here great. It's so cool. A lot of sleeping space above the driver cabin. This middle thing comes off if you want it to, so you have more room coming up and out. We've never really moved it, but this moonshade thing is not good. So it was originally up when we bought it, and I think he kind of like had it rigged up, and then we decided to try to put it down. And when we did, it all fell down. It was like dangling. There's like some strap things in there, and so halfway home from a dirt bike race, this thing is just like flopping up here. It's pretty crazy, but so it's not really well built. And I think the new 2025s are different because I was looking at pictures. And these tracks that are up here, they're just like into plastic. So like it's just like, you can hear me scratching it. That's just the plastic. They got like self-tapping screws. I added more, but it still doesn't want to go up because I think something bent when it fell down. So this side, even though we put the screws in, there's actually been screws falling back out, and I just put those in there. So my whole talking point is don't buy it for the moonshade or thinking that it's going to work. I wish we could have left it up because it was cool. It does get a little hotter during the day, but it was kind of cool having, it's a big window right there. But now if we go to put it up, it just doesn't sound healthy. So super big bummer. So if you're buying one like this, don't count on that working for very long. That's my story on that thing. So one of the things that we wish was that this was a couch. So if you're buying a new one, I would consider getting a couch here because they call this a 10-person sleeping, but you got the queen bed, the 2 bunks, that's 2, 4. If you count this as 2, that's 6, and then 8. So I don't see 10, unless this could be your 9th. So it's supposed to have these recliners, and they don't really recline all that far. This one actually is not working all the way. It's supposed to come out further. So, but even with it coming out, that's as far as it comes. And any weight on here, on your leg, like it just goes back down. So it doesn't really do much. It doesn't recline to the back. So I would much rather have a couch right there. That way we can gain an extra sleeping spot when we're going to the races. Okay, so one of the things that may be mechanical is like, where's the fuse panel? And if you can tell where I'm standing, this is where the slide went out. So typically this slide is all the way in. Actually, you saw it when I was trying to do the slide jacks. Like there's no room to walk here. And your fuse panel on this model in particular is way down here. So here's how you open it. You can't get to this because this, if you show this over here real quick, this is how far the slide goes. This literally comes all the way in against this. I really think this fuse panel should have been on the other wall right there because that's always able to get to. Like, what happens if you trip a breaker and your slide won't go out? You can never get to it. So not a huge fan of that. There's literally no way to get to it. You can barely get your hand out in here and you can never get any further. So that's where the fuse panel is on ours. Okay, so one thing that I didn't care about, I didn't even know it had one, but they had this full-length mirror that rested on this black piece of wood down here. It was really tall. We got to a race and I went to put the slide out actually, and the mirror, you can tell how all these bolts folded and it let the mirror go against the slide. It was kind of crazy. So the mirror is now in our house, but it's a cool mirror, but it was super heavy. Like when we carried it out of here, I couldn't believe how heavy it was. So they only had 3 little screws, so if you buy one with like a full-length mirror, I would suggest reinforcing that somehow. We didn't really care that it was in here, so that is one thing that fell off the back wall of ours. Okay, I just asked my wife, I'm like, would you want to know how this works? And she goes, no, I just would want to know if it works or it doesn't work. So ours, hot water does not work. So if you come in here, actually it works 60% of the time. You hit this button and it shows 122. And turn this way, Steph. I'll show you the shower. This is our shower, ta-da. And I don't know if the water pump is on. Let's see. I'll turn it on right now. So I'm gonna let this run. There's a little bit of water still in ours, and come back over here and show it. So it's creating heat, right? At 73. It's not climbing though like it should be. It's going down, and it's probably going to give you an error code here in a second. Right there, E1. So it is not working today. I'm just going to turn the water back off. So when we were at the Tennessee Knockout 2 weeks ago, it was freezing cold water. Stuff's like, is it working? I'm like, no. So it's kind of funny. So we have an air code with ours. He did tell us that when we bought it. That was like one of the things he said. Hot water tank doesn't work. But when we got home, it worked for like a month. So, and then the last race we just went to, I used it and it worked. So we got something funky going on. E1 is our issue. So you might walk into an air code on your hot water tank. Okay, so we're back over to our panel. I'm going to activate it here, and we're going to talk about our gray and black tank and why it's been a mess. So this is our freshwater. This one's always worked. So it shows 33%. Like I said, it holds like 65 gallons, and as it goes up in thirds, it shows you 33, 66, or 100. It would give you your quantities there. Now the gray tank is finally working, we think. It's showing 0 anyway, because we just used some cleaner, and I'll put a link to that, and I'll put a picture of it in here now, of what we've been using. So they make this cleaner, you empty everything, and you put this cleaner in there and let it soak against the sensors, and you flush it 2 or 3 times, let it sit for a couple days. So that one's actually working, and you can see the black is still showing 33%, and there's nothing in it right now. So we just did a sensor because it would never go below 66, so at least we're making progress. We're going to do one more rotation of the cleaner and see if we can get that to go down to 0, and then the liquid propane. So those, we've had some issues with the sensors. I guess at the races we've always just kind of guessed. We're like, okay, well, we know we only had 65 gallons here, and these hold 40 a piece, so like we really can't mess up too much as long as we're equally using it. Like, we're not going to overfill it. So it's kind of been my mechanical end of things, trying to think about that. Another thing with ours, you can see the house batteries are 11.9. We've already put brand new house batteries in this thing, and let's just show you how the generator starts. Let's see if it'll even do it. So it's 11.9 on the house, and we've had the batteries, like everything that we just did was off the batteries. So let's hit the start button with the generator. It takes it like 50 seconds. It'll probably hit those house batteries hard. So now that the generator is running, the house battery will come back up because the inverter will charge that. So it'll climb back up to where it should be, and now you can hear the generator running. And so for the air conditioners, for example, so we'll go to the thermometer, we would need that generator running for the weekend. We have a front and a rear AC unit. You have cool, furnace, and auto, and then you have 3 different modes: high, low, and auto. So we learned that when it's on auto at night, the generators or the AC units are really loud when they kick on and off. So we've learned just to leave the air conditioners on low all night, and it's just like one constant sound rather than like them kicking on and off. That sound you just heard was the generator, the fuse panel kicking on. So let's talk about some drivability. This is like such a key portion that I didn't have any info on that I wish I did. So this is just a standard F550 truck. I drive like Ford F-150s, so I'm pretty comfortable. This whole front end feels right at home to me. But driving this thing down the expressway, you can do like 72 miles an hour on cruise control, hitting hills, all that stuff. It doesn't even downshift, and I'm so pumped on that. So even with our trailer, so we'll have like a 22-foot trailer with a side-by-side, 3 or 4 dirt bikes, and e-bikes, all the dirt bike gear, gas, all of it. And we're getting 8.9 miles to the gallon. So really like that. Without a trailer, we get closer to 10. So it doesn't drop it a lot. So almost 9 miles to the gallon with everything every weekend. And this thing holds just over 60 gallons. So we can go like 600 miles in between gas stops, which I think is great. I like to drive for a long time. And with the bathroom, everybody can get up and do that while we're driving. So we can drive all the way to these local races, run the generator all weekend, and then drive home and never touch the diesel tanks. So there is a really, really big blind spot though for me as a driver looking out that window. So there's no over the shoulder looking. Like our driveway at our house here, it kind of comes out at an angle to the road, and I can't pull out by myself because when I'm at an angle pulling up to the road, I can't see down the road. I have to have either somebody out in the road or somebody in the passenger seat that has a better angle to look back. So just know if you're driving this by yourself, your rear view mirror on both sides and then the center mirror doesn't give you a good angle for cars coming down the road. So pretty sketchy, to be honest, pulling out onto the road on this. So let's show you the back camera here. And so this would be going down the road. This is what I'm constantly getting, is this view. It's way nicer in person than what it's showing here on this. So if I put a turn signal on, you can see the slide underneath that side. I put the other turn signal on, you can see her car and then just part of the driveway. So that's what you get for driver, and then obviously you get these mirrors, and with the slide coming out, you're not seeing much other than the slide right there. But I'll give you the really quick rundown on our dash. So 8.9 miles to the gallon is what we're averaging. And if we go back up and over, 0 mile an hour at the moment. And it has 2 fuel tanks. So the front tank is small, it's like 22 gallons, and the back one's like 40. That's why the back one's almost empty, because when it came home from the race. And then if we go up one more, we have 236 miles till empty. And then this is like our def gauge. So we have another 1,400 miles before our def is empty. So those are the only things that I really even look at. So one of the things that I would have never thought to add to this is this tire pressure monitoring system. This brand's called TST. And I just turned it on a few minutes ago because it does take a while for it to connect to every tire. But all 6 tires, and like that one that's blinking is my back rear, and now my front left is blinking. So the front is supposed to be 95 PSI, and with it being a little bit colder out, we're at 91, and then the backs are supposed to be 110, and with it being colder, it's down. But when I'm ripping down the road, that will creep up to like 119, and I think it's great because I can like sit here and monitor each tire as I'm going down the road. And if temperature is starting to increase on any tire, so to give you some background, so when we were driving home from Tennessee, like 90 degrees out, 95 degrees is about as hot as any tire got. So, and I'm still learning like what the temperature should be. So at home, for you guys, if your temperature is above like 95 degrees on a tire, maybe you got something going on. And then being able to monitor the tire pressure. Like if it's down to 40, we know we have an issue. So it was already included with it, and it just sits right up here. And as I'm driving down the road, I can just, I just turn it on like every 2 hours. I'll just flick it on. It takes about 6 minutes for every tire to connect. And once it's connected, I can just check it out, make sure I'm happy with it, and I'll flick it back off. So it's been a really cool add-on that this guy added for us. So what's really cool about this camera is if you look up here, it's hard to tell. Our trailer, like I said, is like 20 feet, but you can see there's a car behind me. It's actually super clear. Like I know exactly where people are. Okay, so we're coming off the bridge, and this is my last thing, but I want to see how it does up this hill. We're at 52. Coming out of a construction zone across that bridge isn't going to give us like the drive I wanted, but we're at 55. We'll kind of see, you kind of look at the hill here and kind of show, like it's a pretty good incline. It's pretty long and straight. I'm just curious how hard it's going to work it. So I'm not in the throttle too hard. We're just kind of staying consistent, but we're climbing speed. You can kind of look over here and see, like right here, we're climbing, like we were at 55, we're already up to 60. Turbo's not working too hard. It didn't downshift at all. We're still in 9th gear, still gaining speed. So I think this thing's gonna tow just fine for us. I was pretty nervous, didn't know what to expect, so I'm excited. All right guys, thanks for watching. All of this stuff is stuff that I wish that there was content on when I was making the purchase. There was other guys talking about other things, but not that stuff specifically. So if you found it helpful, please consider subscribing to our channel. I did do a video on how to do the generator oil change. I did a video on the engine oil change. We did a video on how to change the house batteries. So as we learn more about this and we do things, we'll show you guys that stuff on our channel. So if you're looking for one, hopefully we can be a good resource for you guys. Only a couple things that I would change. I would probably get rid of some of like the blingy stuff, like the TVs. It's got like that wind gate. It's got like the technology center on top before like Starlink was a thing. All those extra holes in the roof and like these TVs and refrigerators on the outside. I don't want any of that. We want to get in and out of the races. So for me, I would have chose maybe a more slimmed down model than this one. But thanks for watching. Enjoy the ride. I'll see you on the trail.